Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FV088 podcast. I'm your host, Sunny Burns.
And I'm your co-host, Sunmarie Burns.
So today we are talking about building intimacy together, kind of inspired by our last week. We were away. I was on a work trip in Maine, and was really longing for Sunmarie quite a bit from day one, which is usual, but it was like a heightened level of longing.
Yeah, we just complete each other and really enjoy being together.
Yeah. Anyway, on my way back home, on my 6-hour drive from Maine, I started listening to some podcasts on different things that I've kind of been wanting to research. Things about like tantra and just emotional stuff. So there's like 2 exercises specifically that we tried as soon as I got back, which I thought were great. And I guess this will be a quick episode. Probably a short one, but a good, valuable one, I think, because we had a good time with those exercises. We're going to go into those without further ado. Let's get to the show.
You're listening to the FV088 podcast. If you're looking to raise your family with intention, gain financial independence, and live a life of true freedom, you're in the right place. Join us as we explore together how to create thriving families, because strong families are the cornerstone for a world at peace.
Okay, welcome back. So, the first practice we did was this thing called eye gazing, where you look into each other's eyes, and they recommended 6 minutes, and basically that's all you do. We sat on our beds, and we just looked into each other's eyes for 6 minutes. And we used that time to kind of, break down our week. We had been away from each other, so just talking about our week, but really focusing on each other. When you look at one another's eyes, it's actually kind of disconcerting for some people. I feel like we kind of have done that
a couple of times. This wasn't the first time we did it, but it definitely takes practice. And I would say even this time too, there were moments that, I don't know, you realize that you really don't often connect with people deeply eye to eye. You may glance at each other's eyes as you're speaking to someone, but I think we have a tendency to avoid direct eye contact, perhaps because socially it could be considered rude sometimes, depending on who the person is, or uncomfortable. You feel like you're being scrutinized. But it's really interesting to just kind of let down your guard and connect with someone, especially if it's someone important in your life, like your spouse, to be able to look each other in the eye.
and know you're getting that 100% devoted attention from them. It really builds that physical connection. So I think it's a great practice to build that physical intimacy together.
And just creating that calm space of like, I see you, you see me, and we're, happy with that.
And it's not just a great thing to do with your couples, but if you have kids, I've noticed my kids, especially one of my kids, has a really hard time looking at me in the eye for extended periods of time. But I think it's an important thing to do with your children, to let them know they're being seen, and it might be uncomfortable, but I think they value it. And there's this game I heard of, and sorry as an aside, but if you do have kids, I think it's valuable. It's called Peanut Butter Jelly, and the game is basically you look into each other's eyes, and there's a second part of it where you say peanut butter, and then they say jelly, and you do it in different enunciations, like peanut butter, and then they say jelly, and so you take turns, like what else, like peanut butter, and then they say jelly, but you're looking at each other's eyes the whole time, and it's just like it's like a thorough play activity. There's several of these. I'd listen to a podcast on that too that you can do with your kids, and so we did that.
Yeah, and I think especially, right now we're very programmed to, if you meet someone's gaze, you look down right away. You avoid their gaze when you pass someone on the street, or you look at your phone when you're in a doctor's office. You don't meet eye to eye with the other people around you. And there's a lot of, I think, social disconnection and isolation that's come from these modern day practices of just simply not being able to look someone in the eye and talk to them. But I think it's an important skill because it expresses confidence, it expresses honesty, and your eyes are the window to your soul, right? So to be able to connect with someone through that, you can read a lot about a person just through their eyes.
Yeah, no, I think it really laid a good foundation for our evening by doing that with each other, and allowed us to connect on a deeper level. Another TheraPlay activity you can do with the kids is called the mirror game, where basically hands up and you try to mirror each other's movements and do whatever, and while looking into each other's eyes. And, just a cool activity to do with your kids and connect with them. But, even as adults doing it, you might be a little uncomfortable. I think we had a few giggles going. And, but yeah, just try it out. And like I said, I think they recommend being quiet, but we just were talking, and it was a nice way to connect.
Talking breaks up the tension. If you're simply staring at each other in the eyes, it can get pretty intimidating sometimes. Yeah. It's good to practice, though, to overcome that nervousness that comes from direct eye-to-eye contact. Yeah.
Second exercise we did also for 6 minutes was called Yab Yum, or stomach-to-stomach breathing. This was the first I'd ever heard of it, but it's a I guess like a yoga position where I think usually the wife sits on top of the husband. And so basically, we were sitting on my lap with her legs wrapped around my waist. And yeah, it's a good position to kind of hold each other, and even kissing or other physical affection you can do, stroking your back. But definitely.
Or, just as simply a supportive hug. Mm-hmm. It's a way of coming close together as husband and wife, holding each other, and just kind of feeling each other's hearts and lungs breathing in and out.
Right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention it's called like stomach to stomach breathing exercise, where your stomachs are literally together, and you can feel each other breathing and connect physically that way. Sorry, go ahead.
And I feel like it's a healthy thing to do, depending on it has different contexts in which it could be very helpful. If you're going through some hardship and you feel emotionally very disconcerted, kind of being able to be close to your spouse in that way and feel held by them and supported by them, taken into their arms in that way, can be very comforting. If you feel romantic, it can be useful in that way. If you just want to connect through a peaceful moment together and feeling each other's heartbeats and breathing, that's also a beautiful thing that comes from this. And it does also create intimacy as a couple. So it's a good exercise.
And it was surprisingly comfortable when I was listening to it on the podcast that I got this idea from. And I'll link a show on the show notes, a link to that podcast so you can listen for yourself. But yeah, I thought it was a lot more comfortable than it was sounding. And it was good.
Yeah, the whole point of it is just to connect emotionally. Mainly emotionally, but of course there's the physical aspect to it. So it's nice to have the body, spirit, mind, and heart connecting at once.
Yeah, and I listened to a couple other things. And we tried something new and novel. And somebody's probably getting scared at this point for what I'm going to share. But we tried something new. In the 10 years we've been married, or I guess it's close to 10 years now. We tried using ice. And it was like kissing with ice, which was kind of cool. And then even using just the temperature and different like homogeneous zones. That was a tip I got from a podcast, and I was like, oh, that's a new novel way to look at things and do things. And we had some fun with that. Yeah. So those were the three main things. I guess we did have an episode not too long ago, I think 10 episodes away. It was episode 77, 10 Daily Habits of Happy Couples, where we kind of talk about other intimacy builders within that episode. So we do want to refer you to that, but some ones that stand out are just going to bed at the same exact time. We feel like that is such a critical habit to form.
It is such a healthy habit to have in a marriage, to be able to end your day together and be on the same page. It allows time to just sort of talk about your day, having pillow talk, where you're just sharing, oh, my day was like this, whatever it might be, small conversation that you might otherwise not have found time for, but in that quiet calm when you're both getting ready to go to sleep, it's a nice moment. And I think that it just creates a sense of connectiveness.
Right.
You're not off doing your own thing, and going to bed alone is actually can be a very lonesome experience that I think a lot of people just get used to.
Right. When I was away on vacation on my work trip, it was so hard for me to go to sleep because I'm just so used to falling asleep with somebody. And she always has the same experience. Whenever we're apart, it's so hard to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, just really miss each other. But a great thing we do is, we either read a book. I got this by our bedside that we keep. It's called 3,000 Questions About Me. I'll have a link in the show notes. I think I've talked about it before. But 3,000 questions that you can just ask each other, get to know each other better, connect intimately, by finding out about each other.
Yeah, little known things about your childhood that you share, prompted by one of these questions.
Yeah. Question 1,924. What is the most useless talent you have? Do you think there will ever be a cure for cancer? If you got into trouble and had to do community service, what would be the worst type? The 3,000 questions that you can, find out a little bit more about your couple with. And it's a fun thing to do together.
Very random, goes across the board in terms of topics, so there's something in there for everyone. And it creates fun little conversation starters that you probably never would have brought up otherwise.
So I think with that's the end of our tips. We hope you can use some of them, to connect deeper with your spouse, your eternal partner, your love. And if it works out well, please let us know. Please leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening, and we wish you the best of luck. Godspeed.